Mazda's known for building sleek, fun-to-drive SUVs. But let's be real, not every model in their 2025 lineup deserves your hard-earned cash. Some are absolute standouts, while others overpriced, outdated, and honestly not worth the headache. Hey guys, it's Sully from CarlandTV, and today I'm breaking down the 3 best Mazda SUVs you should absolutely consider in 2025. And the 4 you need to steer clear of unless you're into cramped interiors, sketchy value, or last-gen tech. Before we dive in, go ahead and smash that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and hit like if you enjoy honest, no-fluff car content. It takes 2 seconds and helps the channel reach more drivers like you. All right, seatbelts on, let's hit the gas. First up, let's talk about the 3 Mazdas that are actually worth your money in 2025. 2025 Mazda CX90. Mazda's been trying to edge into premium territory for years, and with the 2025 CX90, they didn't just show up, they walked in swinging like they belonged. I took one out for a few days, one that has a loaded trim and features an inline-6 turbo. And let me tell you, this thing isn't just a pretty face. It's got the bones of a real-deal long hauler. You know how some SUVs feel fancy for the first 5,000 miles and then start falling apart like cheap folding chairs. This ain't that. The CX90 feels engineered to take a beating and still look damn good doing it. First off, the heart of this beast is Mazda's all-new 3.3-liter inline-6 with a 48V mild hybrid system. It's smooth, torquey, up to 369 pound-feet on the high-output version, and it actually pulls like a 6-cylinder should. The 8-speed automatic isn't some slushy, confused gearbox either. It's snappy, especially in sport mode, and paired with the standard iActive all-wheel drive, you get grip and power down without any issue. I ran it through rain and twisties, and it never once felt twitchy or unsure. Build-wise, the CX90 feels tight. It's sitting on Mazda's new large platform with a longitudinal engine layout, which is a big deal if you know anything about handling and balance. It's not just some fancy feature. The weight distribution and road feel are better than most SUVs this size. And the high-tensile steel chassis is definitely solid. No flex, no weird rattles, even over rough stretches. Inside, you've got Napa leather, real maple trim, and that classic Mazda attention to detail. Switches feel solid, tech works without glitching out, and nothing in here screams budget cut. Safety tech's all there, from lane keep and full-speed radar cruise down auto braking. All calibrated well, not overly quirky or hard to navigate. Yeah, it had a few early teething issues, some software bugs, sensor hiccups, but Mazda's been on top of patches and updates, so you can expect that its latest model can now run without bothering you. Of course, this means that the 2025 CX90 isn't just the start of a new chapter of Mazda. It's also powerful, refined, and feels like it was built to go the distance, not just turn heads at a stoplight. I'd trust it for long drives without zero hesitation. 2025 Mazda CX90. Mazda's always had this almost rebellious streak. They don't chase trends after all. They refine what works. And the CX90 is their compact crossover answer to the bigger is better noise the market's been making. I got my hands on the 2025 model a few weeks back, and after a few hundred miles, I realized this little rig punches way above its weight. It doesn't take up much space, but damn, it's reliable, precise, and doesn't mess up under pressure. The 2025 CX90 runs Mazda's bread-and-butter 2.5-liter SkyActiv G engine, and it feels buttery smooth from a cold start to full throttle. The naturally aspirated version pushes 191 horsepower with 186 pound-feet of torque, which is plenty for a subcompact SUV. No turbo issue, no CVT lag. Just a traditional 6-speed automatic that grabs each gear like it means it. That gearbox is part of why this thing's so dependable. Less complexity, fewer weak points, and it's been proven over years of real-world use. Out on the road, it handles like a smaller Mazda should. It got tight steering, responsive brakes, and a chassis made from high-tensile steel that feels like it was engineered by people who actually like driving. The iActive all-wheel drive system is smarter than you'd expect in this price bracket. I took it through some sketchy back roads after a light rain, and it kept traction like a champ, no fishtailing, no hesitation. Mazda didn't go wild with interior gimmicks in the CX-30. The cabin is clean, practical, and the materials feel more premium than what you usually get in this segment. Controls are solid, no creaks or wobbly knobs, and even the infotainment doesn't glitch out like I've seen in some newer competitors. I've seen folks hit 80,000 plus miles on earlier models with barely more than oil changes and tire swaps. If you're looking for something that's easy to live with and tough as nails under the skin, the CX-30 is one of the few small SUVs I'd bet money on for the long haul. It doesn't need to shout to prove it's dependable, it just is. 2025 Mazda CX-5. Mazda didn't reinvent the wheel with the 2025 CX-5, but they damn sure perfected how it rolls. I've had my hands on plenty of crossovers, and what separates the CX-5 from the pack isn't some flashy tech or space-age design. It's the way it just works. Every time. It feels like that old Glock 19 sitting in your nightstand. It's clean, reliable, and won't let you down when things get gritty. That's the CX-5. No nonsense, just tight engineering that's built to last. Under the hood, you've got the tried and tested 2.5L Skyactiv G Inline 4. The naturally aspirated version is enough to get you where you're going, smooth and steady. But if you want a little more grunt, the turbo version cranks out up to 256 horsepower with premium gas. What I love, though, is that it has no CVT. Mazda stuck with a 6-speed automatic that feels crisp and strong. I've seen CVTs fail early under stress. This thing's old school in the best way, and it shifts with purpose. It's got that same dependable feel you get when driving a Toyota or a Honda. Driving it, you feel the body rigidity Mazda baked into the chassis. They used high-tensile steel in key areas, so you don't get flex or sloppy handling like you do in some plasticky competitors. It holds a line, grips well with iActive all-wheel drive, and even when I tossed it around wet corners, it didn't blink. Inside, you'd swear you were in something German. The Nappa leather tight stitching and solid switchgear just scream quality. Even the infotainment feels less gimmick and more get it done. Bottom line here is that I'd trust the 2025 CX-5 for a cross-country haul with no backup. The powertrain's proven, the chassis is tight, and the fit and finish tell you this thing was built to age well. It's not just reliable on paper, it's reliable in the real world. Like that one tool in your garage you'd never replace. Now here comes the worst. These 4 Mazda SUVs are ones you'll want to stay far away from. Mazda CX-3. First off, Mazda discontinued the CX-3 for the US after the 2021 model year, and that should already be your red flag. But here's something that you need to know. Some dealerships are still trying to move leftover stock or used units like they're a sweet deal. Trust me, they're not. This thing rides on the same platform as the Mazda 2, which itself hasn't been sold stateside for years. That means you're getting subcompact car dimensions in SUV clothing. At just 168.3 inches long with a tight 101.2-inch wheelbase, the CX-3 feels more like a jacked-up hatch than a real SUV. The back seat is practically useless for adults, and cargo space is laughable, only 17.8 cubic feet behind the rear seats, and a measly 42.7 with them folded. Under the hood, it runs a 2-liter Skyactiv G Inline 4 engine, making 148 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 6-speed automatic. On paper, that might seem fine, but in the real world, it's sluggish. Even with its lightweight build, which is about 2,800 pounds, this engine has to be wrung out just to keep up on highway ramps, and it drones like crazy when pushed. There's no turbo option, no hybrid variant, and no all-wheel drive tuning that makes it fun. It's just bare bones. Inside, the CX-3 tries to look upscale with its stitched dash trim and circular vents, but materials are mostly hard plastics, and it uses Mazda's older 7-inch infotainment system, which requires a rotary dial and lacks wireless Apple CarPlay. Plus, no rear seat air vents, no advanced driver assist beyond the basics, and outdated tech means you're stuck in a pre-2020 experience. Even though some used CX3s are listed at around $16,000 to $22,000, depending on trim and mileage, you're far better off spending that cash on a used CX30 or even a base HR-V or Corolla Cross. The CX3 is just too cramped, too dated, and too compromised for 2025 roads. Now, speaking of compact SUVs that seem tempting but don't quite deliver weight till you hear about the real story behind the highly rated CX90. 2025 Mazda CX90. Now, this one is a bit controversial, but this one needs to get out of my chest. The 2025 Mazda CX90, despite all the hype, might be one of the worst Mazda SUVs to buy this year if you're shopping smart. This thing is new to the lineup, yeah, but new doesn't always mean better. In fact, the CX90 feels like Mazda tried to shoehorn a two-row SUV into a platform built for three. And what is the result? A whole lot of compromise. First, the price. This ain't no budget crossover. The CX90 starts at around $40,000, and if you spec it with a plug-in hybrid or top-trim turbo inline-six, you're looking at over $55,000. That's Mazda money, but obviously it's creeping into BMW X5 territory. That's a big ask for a brand that, let's be real, isn't luxury, no matter how they dress it up. Under the hood, the CX90 offers two powertrains, a 3.3-liter turbocharged inline-six with a mild hybrid system and a 2.5-liter plug-in hybrid setup. Both sound impressive, but they come with quirks. The Turbo 6 is powerful. It yields up to 340 horsepower, but thirsty in real-world fuel economy doesn't match the numbers Mazda brags about. And that plug-in hybrid system. It is borrowed straight from the CX90, but gives you only about 26 to 30 miles of all-electric range. That's not bad, but in 2025 it's nothing groundbreaking, especially since the RAV4 Prime is still out there pushing over 42 miles. Size-wise, the CX90 rides on the same rear-wheel drive biased platform as the CX90, stretching over 200 inches in length, but with just two rows. You'd think that would mean epic second-row space, or huge cargo volume, right? Nope. Cargo space is 27 cubic feet behind the second row, which isn't terrible, but again, not class-leading for its size. The cabin has fancy materials like Napa leather and real wood in upper trims, but in lower ones you're still dealing with synthetic leather and basic features that don't feel like you're paying $40,000. Plus, it's heavy. It's over 4,700 pounds, and you feel that it is in corners. The ride can be stiff, and Mazda's tuning, while sporty, doesn't give the buttery smoothness you'd expect for the price. So yeah, the CX90 tries to punch above its weight, but ends up being an awkward middle child in Mazda's new lineup. And speaking of awkwardness, wait till we break down why the Mazda CX-9 is way past its expiration date. 2023 Mazda CX-9. Have you ever driven something that feels like it's stuck in a time warp? That's exactly what went through my head the last time I got behind the wheel of a 2023 Mazda CX-9. Now, don't get me wrong, Mazda's known for giving us that sweet spot between handling and refinement. They have got this whole quote-unquote driver's SUV vibe nailed with the CX50 and now the CX90. But the CX-9 in 2023 feels like the guy who didn't get the memo that the party moved on 2 years ago. I took a signature trim out for a long weekend drive. It is loaded with the Napa leather Real Santos rosewood trim and all the little touches Mazda throws in to make you feel like you're in something premium. But it didn't take long before the age started showing. The 2.5-liter turbocharged four-cylinder, while decent on paper at 250 horsepower with premium fuel and 320 pound-feet of torque, just doesn't move this 300-pound SUV with much urgency. It's mated to a 6-speed automatic, which, let's be honest, feels ancient in a world of 8 and 10 speeds that shift faster, smoother, and more efficiently. The ride's still composed, and the steering is classic Mazda. It's sharp and responsive. But space-wise, that's where the CX9 loses hard. It's almost 200 inches long, and yet the third row is barely usable for adults. I tried squeezing 2 grown passengers back there, and they were begging for the drive to end. And don't even think about loading up for a road trip. Its 14.4 cubic feet of cargo space behind the third row is tight. You're folding seats down just to haul a few suitcases. Then there's the tech. The 10.25-inch display isn't a touchscreen. You're stuck using Mazda's old-school rotary dial. No wireless Android Auto, no real innovation. You're spending upwards of $48,000 fully loaded, and it just doesn't feel like you're getting your money's worth in 2025. Mazda has already moved forward with the CX90, which gives you more power, better space, modern tech, and even a plug-in hybrid option. On the flip side, the CX9 is the last-gen model that's just hanging around. If you think that was a flop, just wait for what I have to say about the base models of the Mazda CX-5. 2025 Mazda CX-5 Base Trims. It's quite obvious that I've always had a soft spot for Mazda. The brand's been killing it for years when it comes to making cars that are actually fun to drive. Tight steering planted, handling that whole zoom DNA. But when I got behind the wheel of a 2025 Mazda CX-5 2.5S Select, I walked away thinking, this ain't it anymore. I wanted to like it, really did. But this base trim just doesn't hold up in 2025. Not when rivals are evolving and Mazda's own newer models are stealing its thunder. Right off the bat, it's got that classic Mazda styling, sharp nose, clean profile, LED lights, and looks more expensive than it is. But once you peel back the layers, reality sets in. Under the hood is a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated inline-4, putting out 187 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque. It's paired with a 6-speed automatic transmission, which honestly feels like a throwback at this point. No turbo, no hybrid tech and acceleration that feels sluggish when you've got passengers or gear loaded in. I took it up a mountain pass with a couple of buddies and some camping gear, and let's just say it struggled to catch its breath. Inside, the CX-5 still flexes with that upscale-feeling interior. Soft-touch material, stitched dash, and supportive seats. But this base trim lacks the real goodies. No heated seats, no wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and no power tailgate. The 10.25-inch infotainment display that looks sharp but isn't a touchscreen. Mazda still insists on that rotary dial, which feels clunky and outdated now. What stings most, though, is the practicality, or lack of it. For a crossover that's 180 inches long, you're only getting 30.8 cubic feet of cargo space behind the second row, which gets smoked by a CR-V or Tucson. Rear seat legroom is just okay, and with the sloped roofline, taller passengers in the back might be eating headliners. And yeah, the price starts at around $29,300, but to get all-wheel drive and even a hint of real features, you're pushing past $33,000. At that point, you might as well just grab a Mazda CX50 as it rides. Better looks bolder, and actually feels like something made for 2025.